Let's get started. Ladies and gentlemen, we're starting map number 1 of our second semifinals match. Up here at the top left, we have our blue Protoss player from Team Makers. He is the German ShoWTimE.
And in the right bottom side of Thunderbird, we're looking at the main base of the undisputed champion of the WCS circuit, the man who just keeps on winning. Representing ENS Esports, hailing from Finland, it is Serral.
Undisputed king. He's already knocked out Neeb, the former king, thereby shutting down any speculation that anyone is going to really be able to hold that crown. But ShoWTimE, he said he was feeling a little bit more confident about this match, which, you know, is really refreshing to see something like that from ShoWTimE.
Yeah, he's played super good in this tournament. You know, for me, this is a funny matchup because I think there is a little bit of poetry, perhaps, to this best of 5. If you go back all the way to 2017, the boys at the desk mentioned it a little bit, that is the last time that ShoWTimE ever defeated Serral.
8 series ago.
Yeah, this was over in Barcelona. That also turned out to be the very first LAN tournament that Serral would ever win. That was the European qualifier for WESG, but the first place was like $18,000. So it was a very serious tournament, and that kind of took that monkey off his shoulder where a lot of people said like, you know, Serral is just a ladder hero, Serral's only good online, even though it was ridiculous, right? He already made a final that he lost against Neeb. But that was the very first tournament he ever won, but he lost one series in that tournament, and that was against ShoWTimE in the group stage. So I think that's kind of funny. But then to make it even more funny, if you go back to the start of 2018, where the reign of Serral truly began.
WCS Leipzig.
Exactly. And who did he play in that grand final?
Oh, was it ShoWTimE?
Exactly, it was. So I think it's kind of cool how ShoWTimE was there. He was the last one to really defeat him in one of these tournaments that Serral did win. And then he was also the opponent of Serral in that very first grand final when Serral finally lifted that WCS trophy. Obviously, right now we're like 8 WCS trophies further, and we're very used to the side of Serral winning. But hey, wouldn't it be something if the man who started it all is actually the one who stops it all as well?
I mean, these two players have a storied history amongst each other, and some would say before this event that Serral has looked the most vulnerable he's looked in a long time in ZVP specifically.
Yeah.
But I think he shut down a lot of that speculation with that last match. ShoWTimE has had an opportunity to watch that series and maybe learn a trick or two. We're going to see what he has to throw out. So far, he's going for that Stargate opening, going for the usual kind of adept harassment / scouting information. He's going to shade forward, see what he can spot out, but looks like Serral already spotting out that Stargate before the Phoenix even starts up, and that means that he's going to have plenty of time before he has to really worry about throwing down those spores.
Yeah, Neeb, of course, had a phenomenal start on this map with his adapts. He was able to pick off so many drones, and Serral, I had a little chat with him about these games as well, and he's like, yeah, I kind of thought I was dead in this game. It really wasn't going anywhere for me. He's like, I think I got a bit lucky. Now, obviously, in the end, it's not luck when it's Serral, but there were definitely some moments where his hands were kind of tied, and he did have to hope that Neeb would make a slip-up or two. So maybe ShoWTimE can get himself in similar positions and actually don't make those slip-ups. We will see. I mean, ShoWTimE showed us that he likes that triple Oracle opening on this map. He had a phenomenal start against Scarlet, like the boys at the desk mentioned as well. And hey, Serral struggled against that style a little bit at home Surrey Cups. That's absolutely dismantled Serral in that little best of 3 they played in the group stage. Of course, that was only a group stage match. Serral did end up winning the tournament, but that does show that there is always hope, there is always potential.
Yeah, I want to also emphasize that in that series versus Neeb, one thing that we can definitely take away was there were absolutely mistakes being made by Serral. And if ShoWTimE can find those opportunities, he can absolutely capitalize on a lot of them. I mean, I even just think about how some of the series that ShoWTimE played earlier went, where Maynard was actually talking about this on the desk, but the Warp Prism harassment, the Zealot Warp-ins, the multi-prong pressure that ShoWTimE was putting on his previous PvZs was astoundingly on point. So I'm really hoping we get to see a bit of that today.
Well, we are about to enter that phase in the game where ShoWTimE has his Phoenix out, and he also has his 3 Oracles. And then, like I said before, keep a close eye on these adapts, because the adapts represent a lot of potential as well. There is a Robo going up behind all of this, so by no means is ShoWTimE all linear. But this is, of course, the kind of opening where you do want to get some damage done. What's the queen count at right now? Can we take a look at that real quick?
5 queens.
I mean, it's hard to have 5 5 Queens in the right position against the Phoenix and 3 Oracles. Let's see if ShoWTimE can find the first hole in the defenses of Serral.
The Adepts already getting surrounded over here. The Shade will finish up, and they will get back to safety behind that wall. So Oracles and Phoenix going to be left to fend for themselves. It looks like Serral's already in position with 3 of the Queens.
Yeah, but he doesn't have much in the main base. He does have 2 Queens here. There is a Spore. ShoWTimE does not want to commit, but it's only going to get harder, ShoWTimE. I think the main base is your best guess, and ShoWTimE agrees. Let's see what he can get done.
All right, he's focus firing down a couple of these drones. Spore Crawler is going to be able to knock out one of the Oracles from the sky. The second Oracle getting very low. It does get taken out 6 workers, and also ShoWTimE loses 2 Oracles and a Phoenix in exchange. Roddy, probably not the trades he was looking for.
No, absolutely not. We've seen scenarios where even Serral would lose 15 to 20 drones against his opening. Now, ShoWTimE is not done yet. He does find a few more. That makes it a little bit better. Overall, still not worth it. You don't want to lose a Phoenix. You don't want to lose 2 Oracles for just 9 drones. On top of that, Serral also had a really good read on this build, skipped the Baneling Nest early on, skipped the Ro4, wasn't worried about anything on the ground at all, and he gets a very quick Hydra Den out. So where Serral was able to march to the other side of the map, right, and get a very easy, convenient cancel on that 4th base and put Serral in a rough spot, I don't know if ShoWTimE is going to be able to do the same. He's going to try, but I don't know if he can because the Hydras are so much quicker this game.
Oh, absolutely. Those are some okay force fields. Locks down a couple of those lanes, but remember, the force fields are a massive resource for this push. He needs absolutely as many force fields as he can afford, so that Sentry energy is so important to reserve. Those 4 gateways going to be finishing up. The Warp Prism on its way across the map. He's picking off a couple of these creep tumors, but he is diving pretty far onto creep.
Yep, I mean, the real Zealot numbers are not here yet. That Warp Prism is making its way to the other side of the map. But like I said before, Serral was forced to cancel that 4th base. ShoWTimE also got a very easy cancel. ShoWTimE actually traps a couple of these Hydras. That's kind of cute. But obviously, I mean, Serral is quite rich, and he's already producing a lot of these Hydras. The most important thing for Serral here is keep that 4th base alive, and it seems like he's going to have absolutely no trouble doing so.
Well, Templar Archives is finished up there for ShoWTimE. Not starting up Psionic Storm just yet, even though he definitely is banking a lot of resources. I mean, 1,000 minerals, 700 gas. So is he really going to start committing to this, given how many Hydras there are? We do see the Queens starting to get taken out over here, but not quite dying. And that is a lot of force fields spent on not actually getting any damage done.
Yeah, it seems like ShoWTimE didn't really believe in the straight-up fight anymore, so instead he's going to try to get a massive warp in the main base. You mentioned the resources, but hey, if you get 10 more Zealots in the main, that's the way to spend your money. But ShoWTimE is like, maybe the fight at the front just didn't really go the way I wanted. So Serral actually survives what is normally a scary and dangerous phase in the game. I mean, Serral passes the test with flying colors, but we do have Storm on the way.
Yeah, and there is a 6 High Templar Warpin that spends that entire gas bank for ShoWTimE. So now just going to probably spend another couple of Warpins on some Zealots later on. But we got a Spire and a Hive getting started up. Serral is wasting no time at all. Similar to how we saw versus Neeb, he's getting ready to make that transition to Broodlords as soon as he gets the opportunity.
Yep, we'll see if he can actually get something done with the Hydras and Banes that he has as well. But Serral probably not going to get super over.
Oh, no!
No, that's not something you want to do. That's 2 Banelings rolling into these rocks. I mean, he's going to be able to take care of them.
Little one-army hotkey syndrome there.
Maybe just a right-click on the rocks. It happens.
Yeah.
Oh,
whoa! War Prism snipe.
That is one of the 2 prisms, and now immediately ShoWTimE fires up another prism, sets up a massive warp in here, but I'm not exactly sure what this warp in is supposed to achieve because these minerals are still here, so they're gonna have to travel over creep for quite some time. Okay, they're gonna find a couple of Hydras. All right, I mean it's something.
Yeah, but at this choke point, it looks like that. Okay, well the Hydras are gonna get backed up by a lot of these lings. A recall out on the Zealots. He might be out there with 4 of them. It's something, but that definitely did not go how ShoWTimE wanted.
I mean, obviously, something that we often talk about in this matchup is the pre-Broodlord timing, you know, with +2, 180, 190 supply, you get that Warp Prism in there as well, but it seems like that's going to be very hard to hit, man, because that Great Aspire is already morphing. I mean, Hive is already done. Yeah, I mean, something like ShoWTimE is going to have to get the best fight of his life if he wants to hit that timing that we mentioned. But I think after what ShoWTimE saw before, I don't think he's super eager to build a lot of Stargates. Those are some really good force fields.
The donuts.
Yeah, I mean, that's nice, right? That's a couple of Hydras immediately. There's a lot of Storm energy available here, a couple of good defensive Storms. Going to make it hard for this army of Serral to chase it, but keep a close eye on that Great Aspire at the production tab.
Greater Spire getting closer and closer to finishing on up, and Serral still has this army that he can make use of. Remember, he needs to free up some supplies, so he's going to try and force an engagement whenever he gets the opportunity to, so that he can make a couple of those Brood Lords and those Corruptors soon. But Zealot run by from the north side, using that Prism that was on the north side that Manshiviki remade. We already see that ShoWTimE is thinking about that Fleet Beacon, the double Stargates also being thrown down. He has to be so careful with this army, though. We've seen what happens to Neeb when you lose that ground force before you really get the opportunity to make that transition. Now, you have to at least buy a little bit of time. And well, Stasis Trap catches all the Banelings here. That's nice.
Yep, that's absolutely nice. Keeps that mineral line safe because we know what Banelings can do against those probes. I mean, I still think that ShoWTimE would love to get a great fight, but Serral is playing a very beautiful game when it comes to positioning his army, making it so hard for ShoWTimE to really make any progress on the map, right? He's just not getting forward. ShoWTimE doesn't want to run into choke points. These Banelings will explode over these Archons. Those are some great storms there on top of the Banes. Well done. But don't forget, this is not an all-in. Serral wants to free up supply, but Serral has to be careful that he doesn't throw away too many units.
He's also losing a lot of drones on the top right-hand base, and now a War Prism in the main base. We're seeing a ton of Zealots. The War Prism does get taken care of, but these Zealots are still going ham, and a hatchery getting low.
What?
ShoWTimE takes the first game.
What? Okay.
I am a little bit surprised by that tap out, Roddy. Not gonna lie, even worker counts, and Serral loses one of the bases, and of course the push does get pushed back, but it was even supply. Do you feel like that was a little bit premature?
Absolutely. I'm not going to sit there and be like, yeah, I think that one was pretty over. No. I mean, obviously, I don't think the last 20 seconds in that game were going great for Serral, but with the greatest Spire done, he just fired up 68 links. I still think he had plenty of time to buy some time. I think there were a couple of Corruptors on the way already as well. I am pretty shocked, especially because ShoWTimE was building 3 Tempests during all of this. So yes, ShoWTimE was getting ready for those Broods, and he was getting ready to, you know, maybe at least have an army that can fight the Brood Lords. I mean, Tempests are very slow units. They're not going to teleport to the other side of the map and participate in the battle immediately. I've seen Serral make much bigger comebacks than that, so I'm pretty shocked to see him tap out there. That's really weird.
Yeah, game 1 in this best of 5, and ShoWTimE getting one of those kind of free wins on the board is going to be a little bit rough, even for our God King Serral over here. So as we move into game number 2, now, Roddy, I remember that you and I were seeing those map choices and the map vetoes. Serral made a very interesting pick for map number 2.
Yes, we're actually going to hop into Turbo Cruise, and that's, of course, the map with the slow zones, the infamous slow zones in the middle of the map. And it's overall a map that we haven't seen super often in this matchup. I do think it's a really good map for some potential Nidus play. Obviously, Swarmos Nidus can be very powerful on this map. It's a very big map. There's a lot of very good locations for it. I mean, I kind of lost for words over here, Ravi. Like, I'm thinking about everything that happened. I felt Serral had a very strong mid-game. I think he had a pretty decent start. Like, yeah, he lost a couple of workers here and there, but that was odd, man. Like, I'm actually, like, I'm sitting here in minor disbelief. Sure, it's only the first game of a best of 5, but, I mean, 170 supply. Okay, he spent most of his bank, but still, you know, there was plenty to work with.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, Roddy. If I was at home like some of our wonderful viewers, I'd probably be rewinding the VOD, looking how things were going, but we are moving into game number 2, and we have no time to waste. Turbo Cruise, going to be map number 2, Serral's choice against this young man. Down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, sitting up 1-0 in this series, he is Team Maker's very own ShoWTimE.
You'd be rewinding the VOD. I'd be typing a Monka S in the Twitch chat. That's I think what I would be doing. On the right top side of Turbo Cruise, we're looking at the main base. The man who left game 1 at a rather surprising moment. Representing ENCE, it is Serral.
Got that early probe scout, looking to block this hatchery. It was so funny because, you know, one of my favorite things about coming to these offline events is talking with the players and watching them watch games. And one of the funniest things that I think I've heard today was Scarlett saying, yeah, when I play on the games on the ladder and stuff, if my hatchery just gets blocked, I actually just leave the game because I think I'm so far behind. I'm like, really? Is it that bad? There's obviously some downsides, and ShoWTimE will still be happy that he's been able to force out the further away hatchery.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of Zergs also like to all in after this. That's like one other response. They might not just leave, but they'll be like, yeah, okay, I'm really not in the mood to lose drones later on and lose drones that are bouncing from base to base. And obviously, you know, one of the main things that makes this bad for Zerg is not just that it's a little bit harder to connect everything by creep, but it's also that the moment the main base is saturated, which is right now, normally you want to start transferring these drones to your natural. Then normally it takes 2.5, 3 seconds before those drones start mining. Now they have to go all the way to that base at 12 o'clock, and you know, that's 5, 6, 7 seconds. So this is kind of a snowball effect. Every single drone you make will start mining a little bit later, and this is why a lot of Zergs truly despise these kind of starts where the natural gets blocked by the probe.
Absolutely. I mean, if you consider all the drones that get transferred around like these and the additional ones that'll be rallied on out, I mean, that is easily an extra 100, 150 minerals that could have been mined, and you are just further behind. So, Serral, gonna put up with it for now. He doesn't really have too many other choices. This is not a ladder game you can just lose or leave like Scarlet did.
Well, after that game, well, got my doubt.
Okay, you know, you do have me questioning it. But I think you only get one of those in a best of 5, Roddy.
Yeah, I assume so. I highly doubt that we're going to see more of that, so I'm just going to let it go. I mean, sure, things weren't great, but it's definitely a little bit flabbergasted. That's just the way it is. We'll see how Serral bounces back here on Turbo Cruise with speed more than halfway done. It's going to be a Stargate opening once again. ShoWTimE might think like, well, you know, in the previous game, it really didn't go that great for me, and I ended up winning the game. That's quite a few links, by the way. Now, that's a lot of links.
Yeah.
Are you going to build drones now, or are you going to make even more links? What's it going to be, Serral? Okay, maybe it just feels like he needs all these links to keep these drones safe, because obviously this base is so far away. The 2-adept opening does represent a lot of danger, so Serral's just showing a lot of respect to it for now.
Exactly. The Queens... Yeah, the Queens can't really join forces and try and push back those Adepts as they normally would if it was main and natural.
Okay, so as Indy was showing us there as well, like ShoWTimE showed the Phoenix when the Overlord was inside. The moment that the Overlord, see, like for Serral, this looks like a Phoenix. Oh,
well, it looks actually looks
maybe
an
he
Oracle
got the
now.
tail end of it. Yeah, but it was a Phoenix at first, and then it's like, never mind, I'm going for an Oracle. But it seemed like Serral's picked up on it because these spores are actually quite early. Maybe ShoWTimE was a tiny bit worried as well by the amount of Zerglings he saw. For now, everything seems to be standard, but the fact that ShoWTimE was able to force Serral to expand where he did, I'd say this is a pretty decent start for our German Protoss.
Yeah, looks like a couple of these Lings are suiciding themselves into that wall, going down to the Adepts and the Stalkers. The Oracle comes on forward. That spore card, like you said, is already done. One drone takes a tickle-in. It's going to be reporting that to its healthcare official and saying, kind of want a little bit of money for that, but he'll be fine.
Pretty quick Robo once again behind this. Now, obviously, guys, this is not Thunderbird. This is not one of those maps where Protoss can make one wall off and just go very safely up to 3 bases. This map is a little bit more wide open, so multi-prong attacks are going to be a lot more dangerous to defend, and you can't just drop that Nexus if you barely have any units, because this time you're not sitting behind a wall. So we'll see when ShoWTimE decides to expand, or if he actually goes for one of those very heavy 2-base plays. We can see that Serral is also making adjustments, as this game he's building a Ro4. We didn't see a Ro4 at all in the previous game.
Yeah, Ro4 coming down at 35 drones. Of course, adding on a few more after that, but hey, double Oracles might be able to find a Queen over here, getting there before the other 2 Queens are there in time. And this time, he does get out with both of those Oracles. There's the Warp Prism and a Templar Archives being added on as well.
I'm surprised the Lings are not going for the probe there. I really feel that it would have been a very easy pickoff, but that's not going to happen in the end. I think the Adepts even cancelled their shade, so they're still pretty safely tucked in between those mineral patches. It's a quick Prism follow-up. I love how those Oracles really wanted the Queen, got the Queen, and then ShoWTimE was like, ah, one more drone as well, plop. And then he got out of there. He's going to try his luck one more time. I think he wanted to drop a Stasis Trap there. Look at Serral, by the way. That's 8 roaches. Do we have a lair yet? No, right? Unless I completely missed it. Nope, it's triple hatchery.
This is some really early roach production here for Serral, and just 43 workers. He really wants to be able to do some big damage to ShoWTimE, who is trying to get up that 3rd base. It did just recently get started. There's going to be Immortals and Archons here.
Yeah, that actually feels like it's on time, right? The Immortal and Archon production, double Archon even. Now, it is going to be a drop, I think, because I think those Archons were warped in on the right side of the map, and they are now inside of this Prism. So it's important that ShoWTimE realizes what's going on, but he can obviously, of course, recall. Guys, make no mistake, this is very committed by Serral. If this attack does not work out, Serral could be in an absolute world of danger, and this should be a massive tell to ShoWTimE right now now, because normally Serral is always ready. Serral wants to tie up the score here, but ShoWTimE, even though he has no batteries yet, I'd love to see a battery here or two, immediately recalls the Prism.
Yep. And let me tell you something, Roddy. We have seen some miracle defenses happen when you have Immortals paired with a Warp Prism. So ShoWTimE gonna just pull back inside that natural expansion. The Warp Prism is there. He's unloading the Archons. Cybernex Core will get taken out, and ShoWTimE will need to restart that at some point.
Yep.
But for now, it's just gonna be probably Zealots warped in with Charge still not finished.
Oh, that was really cool, actually. He dropped the corrosive bow on that stasis trap. I mean, now because he lost the cyber core, he only built one battery. That's it for now. Now he's forced to rebuild the core if he wants to get more batteries. But we do know, as long as there's a Warp Prism and as long as there are Immortals, there is hope. Serral is still building units behind all of this, Ravi.
He is so committed at this point. Yeah. Even after sniping off the third base, that alone is not enough damage. He is looking for more. He's getting a lot of damage done to one of these Archons. ShoWTimE does pick it up toward the tail end of things. Another one of the gateways where the production is going to be taken out over here.
ShoWTimE sending the Oracles to the other side of the map. ShoWTimE wants to kill drones, but I think he should have focused on defending instead, though. The corrosive balls will take care of these force fields. That one battery is absolutely putting in some work, but will ShoWTimE have enough units here in the end?
Oh, Roddy, he has 3 Immortals in that Warp Prism, but there are so many lanes he has to get through first. The Archons low on hit points. One of the Immortals getting so low on hit points, but the Warp Prism does pick it up and save it. The Oracles come back home. They're starting to take out the Roaches and the Ravagers. There's no more Lings to buffer, but a few more are going to come forward. The Robo is so low on hit points, and it is going to go down.
The Robo goes down, but one more Immortal pops. You're looking at 4 Immortals there with a little bit of micro. I do think that ShoWTimE should at least survive here. He did lose everything, though. The Immortals are not going to be good. That's a really good corrosive ball, forcing a pickup on the back Immortals. One Immortal finally falls. The second one is so close to falling as well.
He's getting so much damage done, but the shields are all off of these Immortals. He nearly loses another one. He's microing his heart out right now. He dodges the corrosive biles. Pro's being pulled off the line to do a citizen's arrest on these queens. Is it going to be enough? ShoWTimE falling down behind in workers. These Immortals, one of them goes down.
ShoWTimE just has too much money during all of this as well, man. GG, Serral will tie up the score. But boy, oh boy, was that close. And I actually think ShoWTimE misread it a little bit. I mean, he sent those Oracles to the other side of the map. I'm like, mate, this is massive commitment. Like, Serral really wants to kill you here. And ShoWTimE is thinking about harassing. I think if those Oracles are at home, they could have been very useful. From time to time, I really feel that Serral was running low on units as well. And if he would have, like, the moment he saw all those units, dropped 3 or 4 shield batteries, that's a different ball game. Even at the very end, he's like, I guess I'll build a Void Ray. But ShoWTimE had 900 minerals in the bank, and that was a close hold. So imagine if he spends that money, builds extra batteries, and keeps the Oracles at home, I think it is a hold.
Absolutely, and even just small little things that could have been adjusted. Of course, having the Oracles back at home, but also if he had started up his Cybernex Core a little bit faster, then he could have actually made some of those shield batteries, or also just having the extra gateways, because he did lose a lot of those at the front line. There are all these small little things that add up, especially with how close of a game that ended up being. But Serral still manages to take that game, and it's going to tie up this series 1-1.
I'm pretty shocked so far about both of these games. For Serral, after he's down 0-1, to put it all on the line like that, sure, if he drops that map, he's down 0-2. He's not eliminated yet, but that is a risky call. And this Robo was actually pretty quick. I think that Serral was hoping for another Phoenix triple Oracle, but that wasn't it, right? This time the Robo was very quick. I think that could have gone so wrong for the Finnish Phenom. And if he goes down 0-2, then it's going to be one hell of a mountain to climb, because ShoWTimE has been playing 6 StarCraft so far in this tournament. But one thing is for sure, after 2 games, we've got a semifinals on our hands.
All right, we're moving into game number 3. Tied up series. Let's see who can reclaim that lead as we see up here in the top right-hand corner of the map, the blue Protoss player from Team Makers. Put your hands together for ShoWTimE.
We've got a very passionate crowd over here in Ukraine. It's actually getting quite late, but all of these seats are still taken. People still really feeling it. Watching these games, enjoying it in the left bottom side of New Repugnancy. Representing ENCE, it is Serral.
Even starting to see some people just standing up in the back and everything, not having enough seats, so they're just looking for anywhere they can watch these amazing games, these titans clash in this game of StarCraft. Roddy, we have yet another normal opening coming out from both of these players so far. I just want to note that while, of course, that series of Serral versus Neeb has absolutely restored my faith in Serral's late-game PvZ, I have to say, throughout this tournament and even just the past couple of weeks, I do feel like Serral, a lot of his wins, a surprising number of wins, have come off of that kind of early-game aggression, similar to that last game. And I have to wonder.
Maybe he's playing into his own reputation a little bit, right? Because more and more people start cutting corners against Serral. Like, I know a lot of people at home sometimes is like, why don't pros just do X, Y, Z versus Serral? You know, why don't you do something crazy? And for a while, everybody's playing normal. And then at one point, they're like, well, you know, if Serral likes to play late game, if he likes to defend, if he just likes to outplay us, let's cut corners. And people started cutting more and more corners against him. And I think eventually Serral started to get a little bit fed up with it. And he's like, well, if you guys want to play this game, we're going to sprinkle in a few more all-ins, right? Because obviously Serral is the greatest and Serral is capable of outplaying anyone. You know, there's only so many corners you can overcome before your opponents just start getting way too greedy and get away with way too many things. So I think that's kind of Serral's way in keeping the competition honest.
Yeah, staying unpredictable, making sure that you don't just get hard countered and allow your opponents to just get away with huge leads to overcome sometimes that skill differential.
This is cool, by the way. A Twilight Council opening by ShoWTimE. Now we'll keep a close eye on it if he's going to drop a Robo very quick as well. Because this is one of these maps where once in a while we see some of those resonating glaives openings. Now that we do have the Robo, so maybe this is just the traditional Dark Templar opening. We'll keep a close eye if it's a 3-gate or a 4-gate. But I really hope that ShoWTimE throws in one of those glaives openings as well. I do believe that some of those can catch Serral off guard as well if Serral doesn't sacrifice an Overlord, which he doesn't always do.
Yeah, ShoWTimE being a little bit more transparent this game by going for the Stalker first as opposed to the Adept openings that we've seen time and time again from the usual Stargate opening. So just a single Stalker, not even a full wall just yet. Those Lings are still not going to feel safe trying to dive too far in, and it is going to be that Dark Shrine opening for the DT drop.
Yep. Now there are a couple of variations. There's obviously the traditional one with the 4 gateways where you can warp in 4 DTs at a time. Sometimes Protoss players will try to just warp in or walk in with the Dark Templars and try to snipe something. But there's also the 3-gate variation which hits a tiny bit quicker. And then obviously the downside of this is that you can only warp in 3 Dark Templars, so you can't get the immediate double Archon, but maybe you can get some more success with your Dark Templars.
Yeah, some of my favorite math that actually comes into effect is if you dive in on the lair, if you get the first swipe off with those DTs on a lair and an Overseer has not morphed in, you will guarantee the kill on that lair.
With 4 or 3?
With 4.
Okay.
So 3 does mean you don't really have those kind of small little opportunities. There's a lot of little math that comes into play with the difference of that 1 extra unit. So we'll see. I only saw, I think, a couple of gateways being added on
no Spore Crawlers yet. I mean, obviously the lair is close to finishing up. It was a very, very fast lair. That's a lot of links, by the way. So it seems like Serral has a pretty good read on this. I think he kept a close eye on the Prism as well. Let's see if ShoWTimE is going to split them up or keep them together. No, he's just going to run in. Spore Crawler is morphing. Overseer is morphing as well. Indy, where is that Overseer morphing? All right, on the south side of our screen. So, I mean, this... Oh, can he get it surrounded? That would be massive for Serral. You saw that body blocking. He's blocking the invisible unit. He's surrounding the invisible unit as well after it's being revealed. And at this point, I do like what ShoWTimE is doing here, though. He's leaving 1 behind, and he's going to harass with 1. So at least this is causing quite a bit of lost mining time.
Yeah, and the big thing over here is that, of course, he's going to be able to keep 2 of the DTs alive, but also just by splitting them up, like you were saying, Roddy, he knows there's only 1 Overseer, so all I have to do is be able to dodge out of the way of the Spore Crawler and the Overseer. And the Spore Crawler, not really so mobile.
And now we can always morph them into an Archon, warp in 2 more Dark Templars, get 2 more Archon. Oh, what are you doing, mate? Oh, perhaps a tiny bit of nerves. Yep. He's going to take a look at it. So he's already building Immortals at home. ShoWTimE actually not going up to 3 bases yet. Maybe he just wants to play it safe. Maybe a little bit terrified as well after what happened in that previous game. But there we do see a Forge, so at least ShoWTimE is preparing for the next phase of this game.
Yep, and here we go. The Warp Prism harass is going to be continuing forward. But as all those roaches are coming out, we also see that Spire started up there for Serral.
That's actually going to be hard to scout, right? Do we have a sentry at all? I didn't see a sentry.
He opened up with the Stalker first, and then he added on 2 Adepts later on to help try and take that 3rd base, but then it was just straight into the DTs.
Well, that Spire is halfway done.
There are the sentries
There
now.
was an Observer, yeah, but that's going to take a little while before that hallucination is ready. The Archons came home, and that one Observer was actually following the Prism. Those are some good force fields. Serral really eager to pick up that probe, but it's not going to work out this time. But Serral's okay with all of this because he's keeping ShoWTimE busy, and surprise, surprise, there is a Spire going up in the back of the main base, and I'll tell you, Ravi, if the Spire is done and you haven't seen it yet as a Protoss, that is very, very bad news. Because what does ShoWTimE have right now that's good against defending Mutas? Yeah, the Archons in the Prism, that's it. And even then, you have to be very careful with your War Prism.
Yeah, the big problem with the Archons and the War Prism is that it is not as mobile as the Mutas. And if you are just using the War Prism to try and chase them down, oftentimes the Mutas, like you said, will actually just focus down that Warp Prism. You lose the mobility, and sometimes, in a worst case, you can even sometimes lose the Archons. So
you got to be careful here, because if they dive on top of this Prism, recalling is probably not going to save it. So ShoWTimE needs to keep his eyes wide open. That is a good scout, and I think that's going to give at least ShoWTimE the heads up that the Mutas are coming. He should be able to see the Spire. He should be able to see 1 or 2 Mutas hatch.
Shield battery already finishing up right now. So if that's in a middle line, that's going to help out substantially.
He's just going to attack. I mean, I'm not sure if that's going to work out. I mean, obviously, Muta's not great in straight-up fight, but from this point on, Serral is going to build nothing but Roaches, Ravages, and Zerglings, and this is already putting a lot of pressure on ShoWTimE. ShoWTimE's move out is going to have to do tremendous amounts of damage.
Already losing 9-10 workers on the other side of the map. ShoWTimE is pushing on in. These Immortals have got a lot of work cut out for them. He needs some good force shields, and he's starting to back up. He's using all of his Warpins defensively, Roddy, so he can't actually reinforce his push.
Yep, I mean, that obviously makes that this push is not going to be very good anymore. Now ShoWTimE 16 works, but he recalls, doesn't get everything, actually. These Archons, I don't know if the link count is high enough to trap it, but these Mutas have already done quite a bit of damage. They're going to get a few more probes over here. Serral is really creating a magnificent advantage for himself in this game.
Already 6 workers being picked off more by those Mutas. The War Prism does join forces with those Archons that were on the retreat. The Immortals also come forward. The Mutas trying to get some more damage done. The shield battery's nearly out of energy. The Archon's doing a great job of staying alive over here. And this is going to get pushed back. The Archon has to be careful about over-chasing here. But look at this. Serral already killing so many workers. ShoWTimE down to just 42.
Yep, ShoWTimE is rebuilding them 3 at a time though, so at least he's trying to hang in there. Blink is close to finishing up. That's going to make his life a little bit easier. But I think that Serral is more than happy with what these Mutas have accomplished. He's going to make 5 more, actually. He had quite a bit of money in the bank. I was wondering what he was going to spend it on, but there is no additional tax. So even though this is looking pretty disastrous for ShoWTimE, if ShoWTimE gets a big army, I don't know if he's going to get there, but if we do get 160, 170 supply of Immortal, Archon, Blink, Stalker, there is absolutely some hope for the German toss here, because we all know that Roaches and Ravages, eventually, they will start falling off.
Yeah, we're starting to actually see +1 melee being added on here for Serral, so he's going to start adding in a lot more links to the composition. He's getting up the Baneling Nest as well, so starting to round things out a little bit as he also finally establishes that 4th base. Phoenix. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to get in there, right?
No, but it scouts that A, that hatchery is not taken yet, and B, it sees that a few more Mutalisks have been created. So that's actually nice information to have. Now, obviously, there is a 4th base going up on the left top side. But like the army of ShoWTimE, if it keeps getting bigger, like I really don't want to count him out of this game yet. Like he has taken a lot of damage, but he's only down 8 workers, and he's working with superior units. Archons and Immortals are better than Roaches and Zerglings. So yes, it hasn't been going great, but there absolutely is some hope. And now with all of these Blink Stalkers, I don't think he should take that much more damage from the Mutalisk.
Doing a great job, and the Blink Stalkers are oftentimes considered these temporary measure versus a lot of Mutalisk harassment, but so far, ever since the earlier attacks, he's actually been doing a good job of fending them off with just the Blink Stalkers. And now we actually even have a couple more DTs being warped in right now, hopefully for some harassment, or is it just going to be from Archons? Just an Archon.
I hope that ShoWTimE doesn't move out, because Serral is absolutely planning on attacking him, and obviously defending is in general a little bit easier than attacking. Charge is almost done. I don't know if we have a lot of static defenses, but a few extra batteries would be super useful here, because we all know what Archons can do against Banelings, especially if they're backed up by batteries. batteries. Like Serral's maxed out, and Serral has a composition. I think he's just waiting for bailing speed and maybe +1 melee, and then he wants to go for it.
These mutas might actually cause the biggest debate ever because Serral is drawing the entire Stalker army over into the far corner of the main base. And guess what, Roddy? The entire rest of the army for Serral is starting to move forward. But that ramp is a dangerous spot, so Serral's going to try and move around.
So many Banes. 52 Banelings. We don't really have those batteries, but maybe the force fields can save the day.
Ravager is going to try and knock down these force fields, allowing these Banelings to come crashing on forward. The sentries getting taken out, the rest of them out of energy, and ShoWTimE is looking desperate in his ways to defend this push. The Stalkers are coming in from the main base where the mutas have kept them busy. But is there going to be a little bit too much? The Baneling count is certainly starting to run dry.
Yeah, the Banelings were a bit indecisive. I'm actually kind of surprised he didn't just crash into it there. There were still a couple of mutas as well. I thought it was just going to be over, but ShoWTimE, well, ShoWTimE is still going to tap out. GG after Serral still up 60 supply there. Even though ShoWTimE still had some Stalkers, I mean, he was probably going to lose a few more probes there. That was just a really, really strong game by Serral, though. I think especially how he kept ShoWTimE busy, how he kept the Spire hidden, the way that he handled the initial DTs from the Prism. Excellent performance by the Finnish Zerg.
Yeah, as much as we were kind of praising ShoWTimE for making a lot of stuff happen toward the later end of that game, he was playing from behind, like you said, from that earlier harassment with the Mutalisk, as well as the shutdown on that DT opening. So ShoWTimE now going to be sitting down 1-2 in a series that he actually started up 1-0. And Serral, one game away from that grand final appearance yet again.
52 Banelings there.
52.
Sometimes you look at that army and then suddenly it's like, is this some cinematic? You know, is this meant to promote the game or something? Because like you look at all these swarm units running up those ramps. And I do think that if ShoWTimE maybe would have seen this coming a tiny bit quicker, then maybe you get a couple of random batteries, right? The batteries between your second and your third base, they can be very useful because then sometimes you can have an Archon or Immortal soak up a lot of these Banes. You can juggle them to the back. But yeah, Serral just created a big lead for himself with all that Muta harass. And in the end, it was just...
The Stalkers in the main base also, there was at least 15, 20 Stalkers that were still sitting in the main base that weren't there for the entire beginning of that fight. So I'm totally with you that if he had had just a little bit more advance notice, maybe he could have got that army in position in time.
Serral looking for his 7th straight WCS finals, not including the GSL vs. the World, not including the global finals, just when it comes to these circuit events. Of course, 4 out of 4 in 2018, made the finals of winter. Didn't win that one, but it was a little bit different. It was played in the studio, a lot of it was online. He won spring, now he's one map away of making it to the finals once again in WCS summer.
Well, we're going to be starting up here in the top left-hand corner of the map. Top of the blue Protoss player, the German from Team Makers. He really needs your energy. He is ShoWTimE.
And in the right bottom side of King's Cove, we're looking in the main base of our Finnish Zerg. The man who just seems unstoppable in this game. It is Serral. The sick thing about Serral is that he also wins the events outside of the WCS circuit. He's like, Home Store Cups, those are fun to win. GSL vs. the World last year, that was really cool to win. Global Finals, I'll take that one too.
Road to $1 million in esports earnings, Roddy. Road to $1 million.
I mean, if he just keeps on winning, he's going to get there by the end of the year for sure. It is absolutely ridiculous what he's showing us, and the way that he's showing it as well. It is not, you know, just a couple of tricks. He's so good at adapting, and I think one of the best features about Serral is honestly that he seems to learn so quickly. He loses against a strategy, somebody else tries it, doesn't lose against it anymore. He's so good at realizing where things went wrong and making sure that he doesn't make the same mistake twice. And I honestly think that's the main reason why he's so incredibly consistent. Because of course, his micro, his macro, all of the basic elements, Serral doesn't really have a true weakness. But on top of that, he's so incredibly good when it comes to learning from losses.
Yeah, I really have to emphasize that, Roddy, because it is such a difficult thing to be consistent in a game like StarCraft. StarCraft is one of those games that receives patches. Sometimes you'll have some good things or bad things come your way. There are new maps that change the way you have to play the game. New metas develop all the time. Every couple of weeks you see developments, and Serral keeps up with all of it and retains that ability to pull out the wins in the end. It is phenomenal. It is unheard of in the non-Korean scene to be this good.
And on top of that, he is by far and away the most broadcasted player, right? Because he always wins. He always makes it to the final, which means he plays an insane amount of games. In Challenger, he's always the most broadcasted player as well. There is so much information out there for everyone to work with, yet it seems to not bother him too much. And yes, he'll drop a couple maps here and there. It is absolutely astonishing how consistent Serral has been and how invincible he looks. But hey,
no gimmicks.
He's not there yet, Ravi. He's absolutely not there yet. In the grand finals, there is a young, very eager Italian kid waiting. And that managed to defeat him not once, but twice before in WCS Winter. So it has happened before. I also remember a funny conversation. Of course, Ro4 and Serral did play against each other in WCS Spring. Serral was able to win that one 3-0. But there was a little conversation in the players' lounge where Ro4 walked up to Serral and he's like, "Next time, I'll get you." Serral said, "Okay." That was about it, but
you can try.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, let's not count ShoWTimE out yet. ShoWTimE has played, honestly, the best StarCraft I've seen him play in a very long time. I've loved watching the German toss this tournament, and I hope that he can send it to Game 5, because that would be a joy for all of us.
Without a shadow of a doubt, Roddy. We do have that Phoenix first opening here from ShoWTimE. He's adding on the Oracle afterwards. You were talking about how much he does seem to love those 3 Oracle openings. I would say so far he hasn't gotten as much value from a lot of the Oracles as he would have liked, or as he has versus other Zerg players in the previous games that he's played. But maybe this time you'll be able to make a little bit more work. Every single time you learn a bit more about how that opponent's defense is going to happen.
The eye tracker is actually incredibly inaccurate because it can't keep up with Serral. Just kidding, Toby. I know it's trying, but Serral doesn't stream a lot, obviously. I mean, he doesn't seem to enjoy it super much. But he has done a couple of streams in the past, and if you watch him play, it's actually sick. Like it feels like he queues the comments up before I truly see what he has done. And of course, he's not the only fast player. I don't want to make it seem like this is a unique Serral thing, but it is absolutely pretty crazy to watch him play.
All right, we do have the Twilight Council follow-up coming on out, additional oracles being made, and Serral does have a decent number of lings out on the map and are going to be looking to poke into that third base. But the Oracle is forced to expend a bit of energy just to make sure that those adepts don't get picked off and surrounded.
ShoWTimE already working on a very creative wall there. Well, he does have the Robo and the Twilight. I have the feeling that if ShoWTimE truly wanted to go up to 3 bases, don't you think he would have done it already, Ravi?
I think so, Roddy. I'm starting to feel some funny mind gamey vibes over here from ShoWTimE.
Me
we'll
too.
see if he plays this out and fakes that third entirely here.
Yeah.
Resonating Glaives on the way, Roddy. I feel like he really would have thrown down his third base by now if he was planning on it.
Yep, I like it. I mean, he is dropping it right now, but obviously a lot of the initial investment went into the gates, went into the Robo, goes into this upgrade. Now, there is a Ro4 in this game, but that's 11 drones, by the way. We'll keep a close eye on that.
44 workers for ShoWTimE.
Yeah, Serral's got to stop building drones right here, right now, by the way. Otherwise, he's going to be in a lot of trouble because Glaives Aspire as well. Serral, actually, you're going to need some roaches, my friend.
Oh, my God. ShoWTimE is selling this so well, and he's already going to be starting off with a bit of damage, mostly happening on the Spore Crawler, though. Now he's going to start picking off a couple of these drones, but he loses one of the Oracles, the other Oracle, beaten and battered. He's going to have a hard time getting out of there until those shields regen, unless he wants to use a recall. The Adepts making their way forward a little bit preemptively, but here are all the Adepts revealed.
Roaches.
Immediately, Serral should know what's happening.
Oh, but Serral's kind of supply block. Look at that, 88 out of 90, 200 minerals in the bank. He's going to have to wait for those Overlords to finish up. This is going to be really hard to hold. I mean, obviously, Queens are tanky. Queens can buy sometime. There was a stasis trap in the main base as well, but there is a lot of potential here for ShoWTimE. It's a big investment. 15 Adepts is a massive investment, so ShoWTimE is going to need to do a lot here, but he absolutely has the potential to do a lot.
All right, the Roaches are in very low numbers right now, and they are going to cancel that shade. They feel they can get more damage done over here. They picked off 2 of these drones. He's still not shading out. There is the shade finally coming, but a couple of these Adepts already getting picked off. The Lings doing some damage. Oh, Stasis Trap catches a lot of these drones, and ShoWTimE is forced to retreat. That still is not the damage he was looking for.
No, I'm with you. That's absolutely not the damage that he was looking for. And I really think that if he lets that first shade finish up, obviously it's very easy for us to say because we have no Fog of War. ShoWTimE doesn't necessarily know what's in the natural of Serral. But if he would have shaded away from those Queens, there was very, very little to work with for Serral. And those Adepts could have absolutely rampaged the natural.
Nidus Worm being added on here for Serral. And with all these roaches he's been making, if he ever feels like there's, oh, he canceled the Nidus Worm and remakes it in vision range of ShoWTimE. Stasis Trap is going to get caught this time, so not going to lose out on that mining time. But with so many roaches being added on, if these Adepts truly get pushed back, ShoWTimE is going to have to be very careful with his defense, because you invest into all these Adepts, that does cut into your defensive gateway production.
Yep, that's a few more Adepts going down. But obviously, we did have that robot, though. Do we have an Immortal out already?
We
one or
should
two?
have one,
yep.
too.
Yeah, one or two. I mean,
he's moving out, though.
No, I don't want ShoWTimE to be moving out, especially not against a potential Nidus network as well. We still have quite a few Queens alive from that early game. Serral is doing all of this of 60 drones, so it's obviously a strong economy. But by now, ShoWTimE actually has more workers and not a stasis trap connected in the main base. I wonder, is Serral going to commit with his Nidus play? I mean, 7 Ravages, 5 Roaches, 14 Links, and +1. Serral absolutely wants to get good damage done. Oh, no. I mean, ShoWTimE, does he see it? Can he warp in something?
In vision range, but I think he's busy with the Oracles and the engagement in the center of the map. We see the Ravager Crows of Wells trying to knock down these Force Fields, and he's already closing the distance. Forget the Nidus Worm, Roddy. I feel like Serral's already winning the engagement in the center.
I'm not going to forget the Nidus network, because there are Zerglings in the main base. More Nidus is going up as well. The Lings in the main base already starting to pick off a couple of probes, but the Oracles are there to save the day, so that's actually kind of nice. Serral still trying to spread ShoWTimE thin. ShoWTimE still under a lot of pressure. Where are the Immortals? Are they all gone?
They're gone. They got picked off, and now we end up seeing the Ravagers claiming victory for Serral. 3